Good morning, everyone. Apologies for being a minute or so behind. Got the 3-day weekend drags going on here. All right, so we're at 10:03, so we'll go ahead and get started. Again, to be conscious of everybody's time. So as you see, here's our meeting agenda for today. We'll go over the COVID numbers again. Tiffany Higginbotham from the VA has a presentation for us. We'll talk about the new supplemental NOFA that came out just a couple weeks ago, head count committee and group reminders, and then we'll talk about August meeting. So we'll move ahead then. Okay, as you see, COVID numbers are still going up just a little bit. So we want to make sure, again, we're still being cautious of that. I know we have talked about that we have applied for the COVID mitigation grant. We have been awarded or sent a letter of funding, but we have no idea how much it's for. We haven't got any of that news yet. It just says you've got something, but we don't know what it is. So when we get more on that, we'll let you know on that, what's going on with that. But just please take note of that. Be sure and take precaution as necessary. Okay. All right. So Tiffany Higginbotham, many of you know her, some may not, but she is a tremendous worker for the VA and just a tremendous person altogether. And so we're going to let Tiffany talk about some things that's going on at the Veterans Administration.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm going to try to request control. Wait, how do I, let's see. How do I share my screen, Savannah? I'm not so familiar with Zoom. I use Teams mostly.
Hey, Emily, could you give her permission to share her screen? It looks like it's not giving me permission to do that. We're going to get it taken care of, Tiffany. We just have to give you permission.
Okay, no problem. Thank you all.
Okay, so problem. I just gave you co-host. I think you should be able to screen share now.
Okay, let's see.
And it's just at the bottom of the screen in the taskbar. It's green and it says share screen and has a little box with an arrow. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm doing it now. Can you see my screen? Is it the presentation?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay. Well, thank you all for having me this morning. This is going to be some information about the VA's goal for this year and the challenge survey. And as Chris said, I'm Tiffany Higginbotham and I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs. So thank you. Okay. So our 2022 goal, there was a goal that was placed by the VA and the HUD secretary to house 38,000 veterans by the end of the year. So as a part of this, we recognize that placing veterans into permanent housing is key to ending veteran homelessness, and that the VA homeless programs must continuously identify innovative measures, concrete strategies, and effective utilization of resources to ensure that we have increased placements for veterans. So we have made a commitment to place 38,000 veterans into permanent housing, and that is nearly 5% increase from the previous fiscal year. So whenever I'm going to share this goal, and please excuse my rudimentary map, but this is the region we're talking about. So this is the Mountain Home VA catchment area, and you do see the yellow there is the Tennessee Valley. I know you also cover Loudoun and Monroe. Those counties are not a part of the VA, the Mountain Home VA catchment area. They're actually under Nashville, but certainly we do provide services in those counties and share those with that area. But all of the other counties are a part of this 38,000 goal. Well, of course, all of the counties are nationwide, but when I'm showing our local results, you'll know which counties I'm talking about, as well as the Arch Continuum, Knoxville, and the Kentucky and Virginia balance of states, for those counties. So our goal locally is to house 170 veterans. The good news is that as of this month, we have already housed 91 veterans. That's 53.53% of the goal, and we still need 79 more veterans to be placed. It's an average of 11 per month. And so what can you do to help? So just being aware of the VA homeless programs and how to make a referral is huge. And I am going to go over that information. And then to have the National Call Center for Homeless Veterans telephone number ready. That number is really good, and it's a nationwide 24/7 hotline that veterans experiencing homelessness can call. What it actually does is any veteran that calls it will the call will be answered, and then it will actually send a consult to the nearest VA, and we will contact them within 24 business hours. And so we're going to, if you just kind of assess for veteran status when you're working with individuals, and also assess for homelessness if you're not a regular homeless providers, that can help. And collaborating with the VA to house veterans. Take the challenge survey, which I'm going to go over that today as well, and collaborate with the VA homeless program to fulfill unmet needs, which we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So let me quickly review the VA homeless programs that are in this region. Of course, there are other programs that we do not have locally, but these are the ones we have here. So we have the HUD-VASH program. HUD-VASH is a collaboration between HUD and the VA. It provides an eligible veteran that is experiencing homelessness or imminently homeless with a housing choice rental voucher. And then the VA provides ongoing case management that is with housing stability as the goal. So it's an excellent program, and we do have vouchers in Anderson County. And sometimes we can port them to Blount County, it depends, but we certainly have them in Knoxville as well. Grant Per Diem is a transitional housing program, and we partner with 2 different places in this region. So Steps House of Knoxville, and if you haven't talked with Steps House recently, they have done a lot of changes, changed management. They have a new building a new apartment complex where they've moved a lot of veterans. And Zach Newton, the director over there, has told me they're going to have an open house soon. So it's an excellent program. And Johnson City Salvation Army in Johnson City also we have a contract with them for Grant Per Diem. So to transitionally house our veterans. And then we have the SSVF grant, and that's supportive services for veteran families. You may know this as Volunteers of America. Volunteers of America is our grantee, and they do serve all of our counties that Mountain Home covers. So I have their Johnson City office and their Knoxville office, as well as the office that covers our Carolinas there, and their phone numbers. And this is more or less rapid rehousing if you're used to HUD funding. So they're going to, provide deposits, first month's rent, things like that. And they usually can do a lot more for veterans than Emergency Solutions Grant if the veterans qualify for this grant, from my experience. So more months, or sometimes they can do like moving expenses or a bed, or just depends on the client. So you would just have to talk with them, but it's a really good program as well. And then not all of you may know, but we do have the domiciliary, which is here in Johnson City, and it's on the VA campus, and it's our most intensive program. It's an inpatient program. So veterans live there 24/7, and it's usually a 90-day program, and it provides rehabilitative services and treatment. And then they focus on housing upon discharge. And so they also have a mental health program and a substance abuse program, or substance use disorder, at the domiciliary. So you can refer veterans there, and they can receive this treatment and then go into one of the other programs or go directly into housing. Other services that we have locally, we do have a community outreach workers. We have Veterans Justice that will go into the jails to provide outreach to homeless veterans or veterans experiencing homelessness. We have peer support, which that position is currently vacant, but we will have peer support. We have community employment services. We have a liaison for coordinated entry, which is myself. We have substance use disorder treatment positions. We have also the homeless veterans dental program, which that program can only be accessed right now through veterans in transitional housing, so through Steps House or one of the grant per diems, or if they're in the domiciliary. So not every veteran can receive the dental program, but that is something we offer, as well as VA healthcare services. So here is some contact information of how you can make a referral. I will have this information later in the slides, so don't panic if you don't get it written down, but those are some numbers I wanted to kind of offer them a couple of times. So this is the next part of this presentation, and it's Project Challenge. So Challenge stands for Community Homeless Assessment, Local Education and Networking Groups. And Challenge is a nationwide VA initiative. It started in 1994, and it seeks to unite homeless service providers, advocates, veterans, and concerned citizens toward the goal of meeting the evolving needs of veterans who are homeless. So there's two main components. There's the survey, which I'm going to go into, I'm going to share some more info about that. And then there's the challenge meetings, which is essentially what we're doing right now. And so it's just to kind of share the results and see how we can, as a community, can meet the needs that are identified by this survey. So Challenge has been used to create and expand many programs in the VA. So the Challenge survey results go directly to Congress, and Congress uses that to create our programs. HUD-VASH, SSVF, VJO, the dental program, all have been created or expanded based on the results of this survey. Most recently, we found out that because of this survey, and we're going to be able to contract with some legal services for veterans experiencing homelessness in the near future. They're working out the legislation and programming for that. But I just can't describe how important this survey is. If you guys can take it, your knowledge of homelessness in the community and what is needed for veterans experiencing homelessness is so important. And so we want you to take this and just kind of let us know what you think our veterans are needing. So community organizations can also use this information for grant applications if you would like, and we can help with that. And so now I'm going to go over last year's survey results. So last year we had 358 responses in the Mountain Home VA catchment area, and there were 72 different categories of services that were explored. So here's a snapshot of the results, and there's a lot more. I have like a longer presentation about this, but I was just trying to put some key elements on here for you guys. And so according to veterans that took this survey last year, these are the areas that they felt were being met the most. So if you kind of review them, it doesn't really surprise me, because food, hygiene, basic communication, medical services, case management, these are the things that they're feeling are being met the most. But also substance use disorder treatment. There's some other things on there. And then these are the ones that the veterans felt were being met the least for them. So these also do not surprise me, because a lot of legal services, they felt like were not being met for them, as well as registered sex offender housing, which we know that is a huge need in this community. And looks like financial guardianship, military sexual trauma. And then if you look at the provider responses, and that could be not just VA employees, but any provider. So a lot of you I know probably took this survey last year. These would be your responses. the highest met need, according to providers, was medical services, that they felt was being met the most. And then these other things again, the medical services they felt like, and then some of the basic needs were being met the most. According to providers, these areas were being met the least. Again, similar to the veteran responses, legal services, sex offender housing. And then there's some recurring themes. So both groups identified that being met the most were medical services, case management, food. On the left, you'll see that. And then on the right, both groups identified these areas as being met the least. So legal services and tax issues and sex offender housing. So if you were to, so the other ones were based on the number of responses. So if you were to weight all the responses, so if they gave a bad score or a good score and you averaged it all out, according to everyone's response, the area being met the most in our region is medical services. The area being met the least is sex offender housing. And there's some other areas that were top scoring as well. I put this in here because this always surprises me, or doesn't surprise me, I don't know, but it's significant to me, is how would you, this is according to veterans experiencing homelessness, how would you describe the health of your teeth and gums? The highest response was poor. And every other response, you know, had some answers as well. But if you look, poor was the highest response. So we know that's something that is needed for veterans experiencing homelessness. And then how aware of veterans' needs and resources are community agencies. So I put this because you guys are our community agencies. So according to veterans, how aware do they feel you guys know about veterans services? And it looks like the highest score by far was mostly aware. So that's really good. What I would point out is there were 5 responses that they felt like community services were not aware. So it looks like there's some more work that we need to do to just kind of share information about our services. And then if you compare the 2021 results to the year before that, these things remained. So case management continued to be the most met need according to veterans. Medical services continued to be the most met need. And per providers, and registered sex offenders continue to be the most unmet need per providers. So we're having multiple years with these same results. And then, so what can you do to incorporate these results into your services? And this is really just an open-ended question and a rhetorical question. Just think about, what can you do knowing these are the results of a survey about services in our region? What could you or your organization do to fill the unmet needs for veterans experiencing homelessness? Or what can we do to partner with you? How can we assist you at the VA to help our veterans? Or how can you, vice versa? How can we partner in this effort? And then I would really like to plug taking the 2022 survey. We have until the end of this year to take the survey. And not only are these results reviewed regionally, but they're reviewed nationally, again, by the Congress and by all the people who are making services for the VA. And so, unfortunately, I don't have a QR code, but I will put this in a chat. So if everyone can take some time to take this survey, share this with your staff members, share this with your clients. Really, anyone can take the survey. It does not have to be someone who is fully aware. Even if they know about one category, they can mark non-applicable on every other question. So as much information as can be provided is really appreciated. And I know that this presentation is sort of long, so I won't take too many questions, but here is my information. If you have questions, you're welcome to call me, email me. And then again, if you need to make a referral, so mostly your referrals would go to the Knoxville office. If you happen to need anything from the Johnson City office, there's their number as well. And then again, there's the National Call Center for Homeless Veterans. So I appreciate all of you so much. I'm gonna see if I can stop sharing.
Hey, Tiffany, would you mind sharing, well, sending me this PowerPoint via email so I can include it on our little email that we send out after the meetings with, resources and stuff?
Absolutely. I'll be glad to do that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, stop share. Okay. All right. Thank you all so much for hearing, that presentation. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Tiffany. That was good. One question I had. So some of those things that are continue to recur or show up, is there a speculation on why they continue? Is it lack of providers for those specific things, or in the case of like sex offenders, because there are limitations on where they can, be housed and what they could be around? Is there reasons given for those things that continue to pop up?
So unfortunately, the survey does not provide a chance for them to explain or anything like that. It's just kind of raw data. But my feeling is that, having worked with veterans in this region, for example, the sex offender housing, there's just very few resources of where they can stay for shelter or anything. A lot of them, from my experience, end up just sleeping outside or paying for a hotel, something like that, because there's nowhere really for them to go for congregate housing. And a lot of the other services that, like, for example, the legal services that are being said are in need, VA doesn't provide any legal services at all. So, we're always trying to partner with community resources and things like that. But it's something that we need for our veterans, because they're saying, according to the survey, and from my understanding, that is also one that keeps popping up nationwide, is just that that's something that they feel is a barrier for them that could help them get into housing that's not being met for them. So there's just a lot to consider with all of this. But anyway.
Well, thank you very much. That's very informative. And I look forward to getting those, and we can study them even more as slides as we get them and go through them. And again, encourage everybody to do the survey this year as well. So, all right, moving right along. Does anybody have any quick questions for Tiffany? Is that okay, Tiffany, if anybody else has a question or two?
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Any other questions for Tiffany?
No questions, but I just wanted to say thank you, because we all come together every month, but as we grow and as we are involved in our own stuff, we can forget what our partners are doing. And so I just really appreciate that, because it's helpful for us here to be able to give our veterans, some of these prints. That's what I would like to do with your PowerPoint, is just kind of take some of those pages and just give them directly to our veterans when they enroll here at MATS. And so it's just, I would love to hear from all of our partners, kind of getting around to it. I just feel like it was very beneficial. And then, you get to sit back and say, okay, how can I collaborate even further than just these monthly meetings, actually collaborating for a change. So thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Anything else for Tiffany? Okay. So we'll move along. So some of you may or may not have heard, recently HUD came out with a CoC program supplemental NOFO. So this is separate from the one that we normally do in the fall. And it's specifically to address rural and unsheltered homelessness. And so Emily has, and Savannah and I have all been kind of pouring through this, and I'm going to allow Emily, that sounds kind of bad, doesn't it? I'm going to have Emily kind of go through this for you. this is a really good opportunity for all of us that are involved in the CoC that serve rural and unsheltered homeless people, which is basically all of us work with that in some shape, form, or fashion. So I'm going to have Emily go ahead and kind of give a rundown on this to make sure we're all aware of what we can do and how you can apply.
Yeah, so HUD released the special NOFO. It's, like Chris said, separate from the normal CoC competition, but it's set up very similar to that. So as a CoC, we are allocated a maximum amount that can be used to fund projects that meet the criteria set out in the NOFO, which the NOFO just means Notice of Funding Opportunity. In our case, for the rural set aside, we have about $1 million to work with. So that means as a CoC, we can fund 10 $100,000 projects or 5 $200,000 projects and so on. All the information on eligible projects is laid out in the NOFO, which we'll send out after the meeting. But we at TBCH are also working on a local level packet that we'll send out and post for you guys that lays out exactly what you would need to do to write a project application, because it does look a little different for you than it would for TBCH because we're the collaborative applicant. So we were wanting to simplify the steps that you would need to take if you're interested in going for this funding. We highly recommend, if any of you have any project ideas that you've been sitting on, to consider writing it out and submitting it. The overall application is due October 20th, but individual projects are due by September 20th, which is the HUD designated deadline. It gives our objective rank and review committee time to rank all of the project applications by the strength of the application. The purpose of the funding is to target unsheltered homeless in high volume areas and rural areas. So our CoC will be really competitive for the rural area set aside. And they're allowing projects like permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, and a few more. So these key activities are some of the background steps that TBCH will need to take as the collaborative applicant to prepare our CoC for the application. HUD is putting a lot of weight on collaborating with PHAs, healthcare agencies like hospitals and clinics, and individuals with lived experience that can provide their expertise on project plans and gaps in service. So we are working on these activities, and if any of you have contacts in these areas, like at a hospital, or if you're a public housing authority, or you're someone with lived experience, please let us know, or we may be reaching out to you as we work on developing these next steps. So that's all the information I have right now. We will send out the NOFO for you to review, but you're welcome to reach out to me by phone or email for more information. I'll put that in the chat. But does anyone have any questions right now?
I've got a quick question. You had mentioned something about potentially addressing rapid rehousing. Does that look kind of similar to what the typical ESG grant for rapid rehousing would look like?
Yeah, so they both follow the same guidance for how to run those projects. So yeah, it will be very similar to the ESG.
Awesome.
So Aaron, if you all wanted to put in for that program, then obviously just you write it up, send it to us, and we would get it in the rank review and get it in there. We're kind of thinking that funding won't come out to probably Marchish, maybe. Just by the time, because the regular CoC NOFO's coming out soon too, our competition. So it'll be kind of running two of those things at the same time, and it'll have to be doing the scoring on both of those kind of side by side. So it may be early next year before the funding actually comes around, but it gives a chance to do more, with the supplemental grant as well. So, but I encourage anybody, if you have any kind of program that would deal with rural homelessness or unsheltered homelessness, if you've been thinking about it, dreaming about it, write it up, get the budget done, submit it to us, and if you don't shoot your shot, you'll never hit it. So we would love for as many people who want to put programs in for this. right,
And
Emily?
I think if I,
Mhm.
oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I was just gonna say, I think on the previous slide, it said something about only a 25% match,
Right.
excluding I think, what was it, office space, but yeah, it's still pretty good.
Yes, 25% matching on this, right? Emily,
What was that?
25% matching, right?
Yeah, so 25% matching excluding the leasing, and that does include participant leasing. So you
Oh.
don't have to match that portion. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else got questions or thoughts on this?
Yeah, did it say on the previous slide that it was, if you get approved for the grant, it's 3 to 5 years? Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're going for, I'm trying to remember, I can't remember if construction's allowed under the rural side. I think it is. But if you're going for any construction, that's the 5-year range. If it's no construction, it's the 3-year.
Gotcha. Okay. And is there a minimum amount that you can require for minimums and maximums?
There is not. There are certain projects that the collaborative applicant is allowed to apply for that does have a minimum, but for just general applicants, there is no minimum or maximum. They will only fund our CoC up to our set aside amount though. So I guess as a CoC, we would just need to take that into consideration as we submit project applications for rank and review. So.
Okay, gotcha.
And Allie put it in the comments, and she's right. Construction is allowable under the rural portion of this, and that runs, I believe, 5 years if you're doing construction.
And you all said
Another
that,
question.
sorry, last one, I think, but each program recipient within our continuum, what was the max 100 grand?
No, there's
No.
no maximum. So for the rule set aside for our CoC, we were allowed, I think it's 1.1 million. So all of the projects combined wouldn't be able to exceed that. So
Gotcha.
we could, we could
That's where I
do,
heard
10 of us
1
could do,
million.
yeah, 100,000 exactly. Yep.
Gotcha.
And Emily, what's the allowance on the unsheltered homeless?
That one is 1.4 or 1.8 million, I think. That one, based on the information that I've heard, is going to be more competitive for urban areas. So we are allowed to apply for it, but our chances of being funded under that side is lower. So Chris and I kind of have been in discussions about whether or not we want to open that side up. We're thinking at this time we will, but it is also dependent on the normal CoC competition that they haven't announced yet, because they're running both concurrently. It's going to be a lot.
Other questions? She said, we're going to send this whole thing out to you and you can look over it and study it. But it's a good opportunity for all of us to get a little extra funding to do some things we've not been wanting to do. So, or supplement something you may have not gotten recently or whatever. So just be thinking about that. Okay. Any other questions about this? Okay. Let's see. Let's go on. Pick count committee. It's time for pick count 2023 planning. I know that sounds crazy, but we need to start planning it. And we still haven't had any volunteers for our pick count committee. So if you're interested in joining this committee, please raise your hand and we'll respond in the chat. And you can reach out afterwards to Savannah or Emily and let them know. But we encourage each participating agency to have at least one member on the committee. And so we need to get that rolling and get some planning done. Of course, as you know, the more accurate pit count we have, the better it helps us as it moves up the ladder for funding and so forth for our area. So we want to make sure we get that done as accurately as possible. All right. Names are already coming. It's like a telethon. There's another one. Oh, wait, there's another one. All right. But yeah, so please start thinking about that. If you'd like to be on it, let us know. All right. I see. Committee and group reminders, coordinated entry committee members. Please review the email that Aaron sent out. I guess it was last week, right, Aaron? And the
Yes.
updated coordinated entry written standards, and reply back with your vote to approve or deny the changes made in order to move forward with our third-party CE evaluation as required by HUD. We'll have to have this document ready. So if you're on that committee, make sure that you've done your part and looked at it, reviewed it, and voted. Aaron, you have anything to say about that?
No, but feel free to reach out if you have questions in any of the changes that we made or need further clarification. Feel free to reach out to me.
All right, thank you. The veteran by name list case conferencing group. Last week we sent out an email about the case conferencing reboot session hosted by Built for Zero Advisor. The proposed date for this is Friday, August the 5th, and the location is at the McNabb Blunt Outpatient Center in Maryville. So if you're a member of this group, please feel free to type in the chat if this date and location will work for you. And then again, you can reach out to Savannah after the meeting as well. But again, I encourage you, if you're a part of that group, to make sure you can be there if at all possible. Any other information on that? Or thoughts?
Nope, that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Let's move right on. Okay, so now we come to time. Is there anything we need to discuss? Anybody got any questions that you want to throw out for kind of a roundtable discussion? Any events going on that you want to let everybody else know about that we might can participate in? Andy, I see your hand, my brother.
What's up, man? The hand was actually for the pit count committee. So last month I had said that Torch didn't get renewed for our grant through THDA. It turns out that I guess that was a mistake. They miscalculated, and so we did get approved for our grant after all. And to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure how it happened, other than I know I contacted you guys, and I don't know if y'all ever talked to THDA or not about the scoring issue that we had, but whatever it was, they fixed it. So Torch did get approved after all that panic. It turns out we're fine. So yeah, that was it.
Good, Andy, I'm glad. Some others didn't, but I'm glad you got it, man, because the reason they gave for you is not right. So I'm glad that was able to get fixed.
Yeah, I still to this day don't exactly understand what happened, but I'll take it.
Well, and probably, truth be known, THCA doesn't understand what happened either. So there's that.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get on to that.
Yeah, it's all good.
I see another hand up there. Who is that? Melina.
Hey, everybody. Hey, just wondering, I know we talked about this last time, but we're seeing some COVID on the rise within our program, and just seeing how everyone's dealing with it, what people are doing, and if anybody cares to share. Or we're following the CDC guidelines, but we've got staff and clients also, that we're managing. So just anybody have any good ideas or tips or anything that's working well?
We had 11 in our shelter that had COVID. I'm sorry, 13, ended up being 13 residents with COVID. And so I don't really know how you're set up, but for us, we just went back to enforcing the mask mandate for our staff. And any client that would come up to sit down with us to be served, because of course we had to keep everybody safe and healthy. And then for the 13, they just, we put them in quarantine, and then we done Aletha performed rapid COVID tests on them, I think maybe every other day until they tested negative, and then they came out. And so we were fortunate during that, that none of our staff got COVID. So.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. Does anybody have programs that you're not allowed to force testing?
That you're not allowed what? I'm sorry?
We're not really allowed to like require anyone to test or anything like that.
I don't know.
No.
I
Okay.
would think, yeah, maybe just the standard of you had the symptoms questionnaire type thing, you know, fever, cough, whatever, and then take you know, precautions.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that. That is helpful.
Right. Sure. If anybody else has any thoughts, you can send that to Melina and kind of give her some ideas. Anything else, discussions or events going on that we need to know about, or you want to share with us? Success stories, anything's going on?
I can just remind folks of an event coming up here in Blount County. It's going to be at Chilhowie Baptist Center here off East Broadway in Maryville, and that is going to be the 16th of this month from 12 to 3, and they'll be passing out supplies. It's a street outreach event. We'll be there providing case management for those that are interested. But yeah, a lot of good stuff going on. So if you're interested or have any clients in this area, just you can send me your information, or I'll send you a flyer.
Could you send us a flyer? We'll be sure to put it on our Facebook page and promote it, please.
And could you send me a flyer as well? You can just email it.
Yeah.
And thanks for sharing that. This is actually put on by A Place to Stay, which is, I say me, but there's like 3 of us. So the 3 of us are putting on, it's a street outreach day. It is the 16th from 12 to 3 at Chilhowie Baptist. There should be clothing, hot meals, showers, haircuts, case management. Walgreens is usually there with flu shots or COVID shots. I think there's going to be several other new folks there. So it's really just a day to kind of take care of those in our county and anybody really that is in need of any kind of services. So yeah, share. I can send out emails as well. So just share it to everybody that you know that might be interested, either to participate or to just to come and take advantage of some of those things that folks will be offering. That'd be great.
Yeah. Get that information. We'll publicize it everywhere we can.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. That's awesome. What else? Andy, how's your construction going?
It's pretty amazing, actually. It's going really fast. After they got the foundation down, everything started going up really quickly. The biggest issues that we're having are supply chain issues. They would be able to move a lot faster, but things like, we picked out we picked out the design that we wanted in terms of the brick and in terms of the siding and things like that. And of course, there are shortages on all of those things. And so we're having difficulty getting some of the materials, but the construction is going fantastic. I'm not positive, but I think everything will be done before the end of the year. So I think it's I don't want to say for certain because every time I set a time, it always ends up being wrong, but I'm definitely hoping that things will start before the end of the year or around that time. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. Yeah,
Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, it is.
That's great. Anything else, anybody? Scroll down to here. Okay. Well, if nobody, no one has anything else, I believe then that we, like I said, can be respectful of your time. No need to sit and drag it out. So if there is nothing else, I'll give you one more chance. If anybody has anything they want to add or ask a question about. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and month. Oh, I know what we've got to talk about. So next month on the scheduled day, which will be August the 3rd, is that right? Help me, Savannah or somebody. Or August 2nd. Anyway, we want to try to, if it's okay, move the meeting a week later to the next second week of the month in August. And so if that's okay with everybody, August 2nd, I was close. I was in the right week. So we can move it to the second week of August, that second Tuesday. And we'll send out an email on that if that's okay. But we'll, like I said, we'll let you know. But just want to go ahead and put that bug in your ear that it'll be the second Tuesday of August next month. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. It's been great seeing you. Thank you so much, and you guys keep doing what you're doing because you're making a difference. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we all want to do is be able to make a positive difference. So, thank you, and have a good month. And we'll see you soon. Need anything? Holler at us.
Have a good one.
All right.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.